I don't download our episodes anymore. I don't want to inflate the numbers. I want to know what America says.
And Germany.
And Germany.
And Germany.
Germany.
And Germany.
What the people say.
And welcome back. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience. Together, we are on a mission of Dynasty domination.
Straight up.
I'm going to nail that one of these days, I'm telling you.
Be good.
Me when I get untone deaf, maybe. One daydream at a time. All right, guys. The gurus, I'm here with you. Rookie Madness, March Madness. Things are crazy right now. How are we feeling?
Feeling all right. Yeah. Could have done without my Jayhawks losing.
Well, we still got the Wildcats. Hashtag douche spawn.
Oh, yeah. The hog lickers, as we call them here.
The tractor. Never mind. Anyway, let's get back to fantasy football. Because that's what we're here for. So we got the Rookie Madness bracket. Last week, we did, what was it? The blue and the orange.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This week, we are doing the green and the red, and we are going to start with the green. So I'm going to kick it over to you guys. Follow on YouTube if you would like. The bracket will be on screen. You can check it out there. So kick it over to you guys.
Well, hello. Back for rounds 3 and 4 of the first round. Ah, shit. What is that? Round 1.3, round 1.4. You can't call it round 3 and 4 of round 1. That
would be too confusing.
Sense. Parts 3 and 4 of round 1. And we're kicking it off with a green bracket. So welcome back. And I think we have a clear winner in this first matchup. We've got Bijan Robinson against the bye week.
Scrappy bye weeks, but
But bye to the bye on this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that an NSYNC reference?
You know it is. I'm glad that we were in sync on that one.
Ooh,
That's right. It's getting lit.
it's feeling good. It's gonna be good episodes.
Man, it's all smiles. So next up, we got the number 8 versus the number 9. These are pretty tight matchups when it comes to these close rankings. And it's Evan Hall, number 8, going against Zack Kuntz. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going with Evan Hall as my winner. Oh, no.
Oh,
I'm going with Zack Kuntz as my winner.
I literally just said that.
Oh, my goodness. No.
Sorvin, put down the beer, sir.
Sorry, guys. I took that Jayhawk loss pretty hard. So, Evan Hall, my wide receiver at a Northwestern.
Wide receiver?
Oh, my goodness.
Running back.
You want to start over?
I don't think so.
Let's keep it in. Let's
All
roll.
right. Yeah. Evan Hall is running back at Northwestern. And I've spoke on him several times by now, so it's kind of funny that I'm just botching everything to do with him. I think it's beautiful. So, yeah, he is 22 and a half years old, and he's 5'10", 209. He just got out of the combine where he ran a 4.47 40, 20 or 85th percentile. Pretty good burst at 80th percentile, and his speed score was 79th percentile. And that was kind of the story. He was like the 7th best at every drill at the combine. One of the only guys who did every drill at the combine. And so that's some of the stuff that really got me into him was he's serious about his work ethic. And then, you know, what first grabbed me was the pure energy on the field. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you even more about what I like about him. So in this deep kind of draft class and kind of a diluted running back position, you got to wonder about a guy like this being an actual fantasy asset. You know what I mean? And it worries me. It worries me, but I'm here to tell you, you're good to go. You're in the clear for this guy. So at his size, he profiles as a really versatile back. He's kind of a do-it-all guy. He's not super fast, but he's not super powerful. But the versatility makes up for it. you're looking at the stats. You know, he had about 1,900 yards on the ground over the past 2 years. You know, 24 games, 12 touchdowns. So touchdown number is low for 2 years, that many yards. But he managed to make up for that. It was kind of weird. The games weren't consistent on the ground. 1,900 yards, some big hit games, some low hit games. But he managed to contribute almost every game. Like low rushing totals, he had high receiving totals. And what really sets him apart to me as a viable option in the fantasy world is that, you know, he led all college running backs in catches and yards receiving last year with 55 catches and 546 yards. So a lot of that was padded by a 200 plus receiving game against Duke, which is pretty awesome if you guys haven't seen the film. But still, he did it. He beat everybody else. So that's what's up, man. But I think he's more than just a receiving back. I think he's got a pretty strong run style that centers on his vision. He's patient, allows blocks to set up, makes quick decisions, and gets up to speed immediately. And, you know, once he gets beyond the line of scrimmage, he's got really good open field vision. And he picks his routes pretty well to stay pretty clean. But one thing I will say about him, you know, you got to have a detriment at some level. He ran well through contact, but most of his plays ended with him being like knocked off balance, not like pulled down, tackled, but like he'd get through contact, but like fall over a couple steps later. So I don't know. That could obviously be improved. Obviously the power can be improved as well. So it's not all good. His blocking skills pretty poor as well. But like I told you, hell of a receiving back with still had production on the ground. So I'm about it.
Yeah, no, Evan Hull's a good little player. I mean, unfortunately, I think he loses here just pure, like you're saying, he's like the 7th or 8th best guy at all the drills and kind of like at the smaller school for the running backs. And whereas the tight end, there's more openings in the NFL. There's a little more chance that like Zack Kuntz could end up being fantasy viable than Evan Hull. But Evan Hull is a great football player. I think that's what happens a lot in these earlier rounds of our draft is you hear that kind of phrase a lot, the good football player, bad fantasy type thing. And this could be Evan Hull's unfortunate situation as he lands on a team where he's a productive, awesome role player at the running back position who may have a year or two where he's like really, really fantasy relevant. I just don't know that his whole career is going to be like hyper relevant, which is why I think if I had to choose between these two guys, I got to go Kuntz at the moment.
I'm with you. Yeah, Kuntz has more promise for sure.
Yeah,
higher ceiling.
100%. But Hull is a great player, man. We're losing running backs like crazy though, because we'll get into this next matchup, and it is our I think it's our 5 and 12 seed. Yep, that's right. So we got Xavier Hutchinson going up against Kenny McIntosh, running back out of Georgia. This was a close one to me. I think Hutchinson takes it.
Yep.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I've talked a little bit about Hutchinson and liking that. So, you know, Kenny Mack's pretty awesome, but I don't think he wins here. Obviously, the higher seed prevails.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I'm with you. So we'll get into Kenny McIntosh a little bit here. He's obviously running back out of Georgia, like I said, 6 foot, 204 pounds, age around 23 years old right now. Last year he had 829 yards on the ground, 5.6 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns. Crazy number for him is 505 receiving yards. Like they really used him in the receiving game. He was a weapon, which is a bit surprising. Ran a 4.62 40, which is not really great. But when you watch him, it looks like he plays faster than that. I never watched him and thought like, oh man, he's going to run a pretty slow 40. I would have put him into like, 4.5, late 4.4s, somewhere in that area. So seeing a 4.6 was alarming, but like play speed is sometimes different. He's got decent size, 204 is great. 6 foot he's a little tall, slim for a running back, but like he uses it fairly well. Just not a lot of speed to kind of like make any of his runs home run runs. But he has had 1,300 scrimmage yards last season and had 12 touchdowns. So just because he didn't get 1,000 yards rushing doesn't mean he wasn't putting in the work. 1,300 yards is quite a bit. He's got like these nice, like sharp cuts. They look really aggressive every time. Like sometimes you talk to me about like people that make subtle, smooth cuts. Not with him. Like his are hyper aggressive, but they work really, really well for him. He's got really good balance for a taller back, and ditto that with power, in my opinion. Like, not these aren't qualities that make him like elite. Like, I wouldn't say he has elite balance or elite power, but like he's got good balance for the size that he is. So he doesn't really go down super easily. So he does have this like kind of contradictory to what I said, but like smooth and aggressive running style because it's like hyper aggressive, but it just flows pretty well. Like he knows what he's doing. Some negatives, like not a ton of production outside of last year. Never had 1,000 rushing yards. Only had 1 year above 570, which was this past year, 2022. I'm really interested to see where he goes, genuinely. But I do think like right what I was saying about Evan Hull applies here. He kind of falls into that good football player, bad fantasy projections category because like I think he'll end up in a backfield, be like a fan favorite because he's always going to be there. He's going to put in the work in the receiving game. He's going to put in the work on the ground. I just don't know that like his career is a fantasy relevant one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. It was fun watching him though, man. Like you're saying, really sharp in the running style. And the pass catching work is really kind of what sets him apart for me. We're just talking about Evan Hall. This is like pretty much a number 2 guy as far as receiving guys coming out in this draft class. And that's accentuated. I think he's the number 1 running back in yards per route run, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, like you say, he's a little tall to be right at 200 pounds, but I think he's got potential, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I know one thing's for sure. I watched a lot of film on his quarterback, and he was definitely making his life a lot easier. So, with that said, I'm going to go into my next matchup, if that's
Let's
cool.
do it. Yeah.
I got the number 4 USC wideout Jordan Addison up against Stetson Bennett, the quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs. So, Jordan Addison wins this one in my eyes. And so I'm going to pick up right kind of where we were just talking with the Georgia Bulldogs. Stetson Bennett, a little background. I think probably everyone knows this by now, but he walked on to Georgia. His folks went there, and he didn't play much, right? So he went to a junior college, did pretty well. And then Justin Fields left Georgia and went to Ohio State. And then Stetson Bennett came back, and with injuries and whatnot, he ended up, getting pretty good run. We all saw how that worked out, 2-time national champion. So, you can't complain too much about all that. But when you look at him, right, he's 25 years old. He's been around for a while, as we were just discussing. He's 5'11", 192, which is not great, right? That's probably his biggest knock, is he's a little guy. And then he ran the 4.67 40, which is pretty good for a quarterback.
Not bad.
His burst score was, 79th percentile. So he's coming off a pretty solid year, which was impressive. I thought it was 4,128 yards, which is a pretty good number, 27 touchdowns. But the thing that blew me away, number 6 in yards on the year. And you might think like, oh, he had extra yards because all the playoff games and whatnot. But he actually was number 2 in yards per play. So it was not just the extra games that gave him the extra yards. He was pretty potent with what he was able to do. And he did all this without a 1,000-yard receiver or, catcher at all on his team. In fact, 3 of his top 4 targets weren't even wide receivers at all. One of them was Kenny McIntosh, we were just discussing, and the other 2 were tight ends. So the fact that he was this productive without having a traditional pass catcher, to make it happen, I thought it was pretty good. But beyond the numbers, watching him is interesting. He's a pretty squirrely guy, like really,
Mhm.
really squirrely. He had a cool year of 10 rushing touchdowns, which wasn't really characteristic if you look at past years, but it was awesome.
Mhm.
And so he only had 205 rushing yards. 30% of those yards came on a 64-yard touchdown. So you're really looking at like under 10 rushing yards a game, basically, if you take that one run out. So he was, a lot of red zone scrambles getting in. It was cool, though. 10 touchdowns I thought was impressive. But he has that jittery bounciness to him in the pocket as well.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of times that's him like looking for a clean path because he's kind of short. So he has to like throw almost between linemen.
Mhm.
So that's kind of an issue. I swear I saw him like hop to throw several times. But when he has that clear path, he has a lot of power behind the ball and it's a
Mhm.
really nice pass. But if he has to go over people, it's kind of a lofted throw. So, I mean, he's got good downfield arm strength, but it just doesn't really work that well. In my opinion, I think he's kind of deserving of a shot at the next level. But I just don't know if it's going to work out at all. He processes defenses extremely well. He's just, a pint short on the package, I think. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
at on him.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. He's a fun player. He's a winner. He's a playmaker. He keeps plays alive, and like you're saying, either runs it in or finds a way to throw. But yeah, not the prototypical size. And then like, let's be honest, he's 25 years old. Like, here's a list of quarterbacks that are going to be the same age or younger than Stetson Bennett at the start of the 2023 season. Uh, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, those are kind of gimmies. Justin Herbert, Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray,
Oof.
Sam Darnold. Like all
Wow.
these guys are still going to be around the same age and have already performed in the NFL. One of them is on, a couple of them are on their second huge contracts. So like a team, Stetson Bennett would have to be some crazy prospect at 25 years old to get teams interested anyway, and he's just not that. So, as fun as the story was, and I agree with you, he deserves a chance because two national championships that doesn't just happen. Like he had to play well enough to get there, so he deserves a chance. But I'm with you. I don't think it really goes anywhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. Let's go to the next one.
All right. So the next matchup we've got a tight end Dalton Kincaid going up against wide receiver Jayden Reed. Now, this one was pretty tough for me. Um, I went I kind of went with like general cognizant vibes on how good Dalton Kincaid is and pushed him through. But this one was tough. So I have Kincaid winning, Reed losing. How about you?
I think I have Kincaid advancing as well, and a
Okay.
lot of it comes from like watching the games live back in the fall and
Okay.
winter, and just seeing what he can do. I'm kind of excited to dig into him, but this was a tough one for sure.
Oh yeah, super super tough. I mean, I think Jayden Reed just gets a bad draw here. It's like it's tough. He's going up against PFF's number one tight end in a pretty strong tight end class, so that speaks for something. But Jayden Reed, let's talk about him. Wide receiver out of Michigan State, 5'11", 191 pounds. He's 22.8 years old, so almost 23. Last season, 55 catches for 636 yards and 5 touchdowns. Huge junior year, though, man. With only 4 more catches, 59, he put up almost 400 more yards, 5 more touchdowns, and his yards per catch went from 11.6 to 17.4. So you know he can have that explosive season. He ran a 4.540. That gives him a 30th percentile burst score and a 54th percentile speed score. I think he's moving up people's boards, man. He had a good Senior Bowl. He had a good combine. The Falcons brought him in as one of their top 30 rookie visits. So like they chose him as one of their top 30 guys. So I think he's moving up boards. He's got these like quick, subtle, really impactful cuts that make his routes really, really tough to predict. Like he creates a lot of separation. I really enjoy watching his route running in this. in this film watching experience. He's got explosive like cuts, and he's got plenty of speed to be a deep threat in the NFL. He's got good hands. He has a small catch radius. Unfortunately, he's a smaller guy and he has shorter arms. So like he's not going to be reaching out and making those big catches, but he's not afraid to go get the ball at all. Like he has a lot of high point catches. He jumps up and goes and gets that thing. He's not afraid to get physical. Unfortunately, there's a difference between not afraid to get physical and being good at getting physical, because he can get kind of like bullied off the ball a little bit, bullied off sometimes. So like if he could kind of some way find a way to improve that, or like avoid that even more, use separation more to his skill set, that could help him a lot maybe, but that's not that crazy of a weakness to have to deal with. I think there's a role in the NFL on a few offenses for somebody like Jayden Reed. The problem here is with how high-powered offenses are today, people like NFL teams could see that role as more of a 2 or a 3, given on how many receivers they want in their offense. So, like, depending on where this guy falls, it could limit his fantasy value, at least in the immediate return type of scenarios. But like I really do like Jayden Reed. I think he could be one of the ones that sneaks up on us after getting eliminated in the first round.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, man. I don't know. The film is amazing. His contested catches are just like his actions through the catch are electric, man. It's like,
Yeah.
It's amazing. And Player Profiler has him comping to Stephon Diggs, and it's
Yep.
like, what up, man? Like you got us. You got some must love Reed on this one.
Hey, Diggs went in the 5th round, bro.
That's right. So it's kind of the same story come true, and his size isn't really that disappointing. So
No, it's not.
I'm about it, man. He's a guy that I'll definitely be targeting, regardless. I'm willing to be wrong on him. That's pretty much where I'm at. So yeah, okay. I guess I could say I was willing to be wrong on the couple of guys here, but I'll go to my next matchup. I got number 3. We got Devon Achane coming at you from Texas A&M up against Mohamed. I call him Ibrahim. Some people call him Ibrahim, out of Minnesota. He's a running back as well. And gosh, asked me 2 years ago, and I would have said Mohamed wins this one every day and every night. But the way it shook out, man, I got to give Achane the W on this situation. So, okay, without any further ado, here comes a speech years in the making. AJ will know the name Mohamed Ibrahim. I've been talking about this guy for a long time, and there's a lot of reasons to talk about him. I'll just give you the rundown right now. He's 24 and a half years old, which kind of not great. But he's 5'8", 203, so but little but dense. And he's out of Minnesota, man. And I got to tell you, the guy ruptured his Achilles tendon. So we'll just remember that, because I'd say he probably was borderline top 5 if he had been healthy and come out last year as far as the running back class goes. So that didn't happen, but he's still a monster. He's definitely going to be 25 when the season gets going, which is definitely not what you want to see. But you can't take anything away from this guy. He had 19 consecutive games over 100 rushing yards, and that's a streak that spans over 4 years, including games from a COVID-shortened year, as well as a single game from his 2021 season, in which he ruptured his Achilles in the third quarter after putting up 163 yards.
On Ohio State.
On Ohio State, for sure. And then the last part of that 19-game streak was the first 10 games returning after the Achilles injury. So he's still got the power, and that is in 2022. So got to do what you got to do. Did I say 2022? Man, you know what he did? He was top 3 in rushing yards in all of college football and tied for number 1 in rushing touchdowns last year after coming back from the injury. So the guy's still got it, man. But we got to be real. He had an average last year of 5.2 yards per carry, and that's slightly lower but consistent with his pre-injury averages. So, This is coming from being a workhorse. 1,665 yards on the ground last year, and that was because he got 320 carries. So it's not like Dwayne McBride, who's putting up efficiency and getting mad yards per carry. This is a real grind, and he was getting upwards of 26 carries per game all season. So that's what's up, man. The guy is pretty awesome. He was number 2 behind Keaton Mitchell in number of 10+ yard plays. So
Nice.
that's cool. But unlike Keaton Mitchell, he had 120 carries fewer than Mitchell, so it's not as potent. Doesn't mean as much. Doesn't carry the same weight. But he's got great vision. His initial burst is insane, and the pushing power is awesome. But beyond the line, he requires a green field to really go and get after it. So that's kind of unfortunate. But he's a runner that wins at the line, and that's what you really need. A guy like that's going to get endless opportunities. I don't know, 320 carries. Golden Gophers know what up. So it's any man's guess on if he's going to get a run in the NFL, but I think he looks like a guy that could pair with a dynamic pass catcher. And the real reason behind that is this, right? I've talked about Israel Abandakanda. That was the guy he tied with for 20 touchdowns on the ground. And if you heard me write love letters to Israel Abandakanda, you heard me mention that those touchdowns were 22 yards per TD on average, which was awesome. Explosive runaways. Well, Ibrahim had 4.75 yards per touchdown. So we're talking about a guy who had 20 touchdowns, averaging theoretically within 5 yards of the goal line. So you're talking about a goal line monster. And this is after the injury. So I still think he's a hammer, man, despite the age and injury. I think he's going to get some play, man. He's not going to be an everyday fantasy guy, but I think he's going to be a goal line touchdown scorer. So keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, it'd be hard to argue with you. I mean, the age is going to hurt him really bad. Almost 25 years old is tough for a running back. I mean, you can't even get people to buy Dalvin Cook right now because he's 27, or 28. But you're right. Interestingly, I think he'd pair very nicely with the guy he's matched up against right now, Devon Achane. Like if they were in the same backfield, that would be fun. Because I'm with you. Like these guys, they deserve roles in the NFL. Like there is a very clear need for them in certain situations. But like you're saying, he doesn't have the like all around power or the speed or the whatever to make him an everyday fantasy crazy athlete or asset. But yeah, I mean he's gonna be a good player. He's gonna score some touchdowns. He's probably gonna save a few people every here or there for randomly having a good week. But yeah, as far as like my interest level, it's gonna depend on if he falls in the very specific right situation.
And that makes sense. Yeah, the injury ruined his career.
Yeah, it sucks. Yep. Bad timing.
Yeah.
Woof. All right, let's get into our second to last, our penultimate green matchup. We've got wide receiver Nathaniel Dell, our 7th seed, up against wide receiver A.T. Perry, our 10th seed, and I am sounding the upset alarm. Woo! I think it's A.T. Perry here, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, everything I've said about Nathaniel Dell, I've talked about him a few times on this podcast. Everything I've said about him is true. Let me start with the things that are definitely true. He's a wide receiver out of Houston. He's 5'8". He's 165 pounds. He's 23.3 years old. He ran a 4.49 40, and he had a 6th percentile speed score. So, he's, like I said, everything I said about him true. He's a good to great route runner. He's highly elusive, that type of like he's a joystick fantasy, or he's like a joystick, whatever phrase you want to use. I'm losing it right now. Human joystick. That's what the fuck it is. That's what I'm trying to say. Those are words that I speak with my mouth. But he's highly elusive, super exciting. He's a playmaker. His tape is going to excite a lot of people, especially after he'll probably get drafted to a team and like his fans are going to go crazy. But I mean, let's just be real and look ourselves in the mirror. He's 5'8", 165 pounds. I don't even know if there's a receiver in the NFL right now that's under 170 pounds. And it's not like he had some crazy speed, like some crazy 40 time to make him some crazy deep threat. He ran a 4.49. Not terrible, but not great when really you're relying on your ability to not get hit by people 10 times bigger than you. So I think he's going to have boomer to us touchdown games possibly. I just don't see him as a fantasy viable option from a consistent angle, like similar to a Tutu Atwell, similar to like these other type of players. That being said, all of that being said, everybody probably said he couldn't put up back-to-back 1,300-yard seasons in college with double-digit touchdowns either. And he did that shit. So the man can play. Like, he knows how to play football. Does he have the body to be able to play in the NFL? I'm going to say no. I hope I'm proved wrong because that would be really exciting if his version of play translates to the NFL. I'm not willing to take that risk as far as an NFL dynasty draft is concerned.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. The next level production is tempting, but shit, man. Needed something else, like another 10 pounds and half a full tenth off that 40, a la Marvin Mims, but we'll get there. So can't argue with you, man. Really fun to watch him, but not not really gonna be someone I'm chasing. So
yeah, 100%.
Hell yeah.
Well, then we got our last matchup. Got the bye week coming back, trying to get a second bite at the green bracket apple, going against CJ Stroud. So Stroud moves on, right?
Yeah, bye week tried to slip in. I think if he spelled it without the E, we might have been like,
set him a little edge.
He could have slipped it by.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
So,
alrighty.
Nope.
All right, to round it out, round of 32. You already heard the dudes who lost, so we'll talk about the guys who won. Bijan Robinson versus Zack Kuntz next week. We also have Xavier Hutchinson versus Jordan Addison. Nice wide receiver comp there. And then Dalton Kincaid versus Devon Achane. And then A.T. Perry versus CJ Stroud.
Wow.
Tune in next week.
Sweet, that's a balanced bracket. Let's see how shit goes.
Yeah.
That was a vote.
We'll see y'all on Sunday. Red bracket. Let's go.
Sundays. Peace.